What up guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here today, and I'm back with another video. Now today's video, I'm going to be reviewing and spoiling Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So if you guys don't want any spoilers, I guess just don't check this one out, because I will be going into it because I want to talk about some cool stuff from this movie that I liked. Now, I went to go see this movie yesterday, and sorry if you guys hear some chirping, there's birds outside, but I went to go see this movie yesterday with my brother, and when I got to the movie theater, you know, we were getting popcorn and like a drink, and they said no refills, which was weird. So didn't have any refills, but I was fine because when we got there was these seats that we got to take. You know, sometimes you select a seat and then there's free ones, you take better ones. So we took these ones that are special. They're called like DBOX or something like that, and basically they were like the 4D ones, so like when you sit in it you can feel the movements, so it was shaking you back and forth, so when Spider-Man was like swinging you can feel your body swinging and stuff like that, and I got to sit into it, and luckily enough I got to use that for like at least the first 15 to 25 minutes until the actual people that came for their seats took it. I had to move around. I went up to find ones that was like it. I found another one that was, but sadly the thing was, for some reason, the fucking power was on 0, so I couldn't feel the vibration at all. So that sucked, but yeah, for the moment that I did watch it with the 4D feeling was phenomenal. Without the 4D feeling, I was annoyed, but the movie was still worth it. And, you know, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I love this movie. I think it was phenomenal. If there's one way to describe it, I'll call it intense. It was definitely a more intense movie. It had a lot of things that I liked about the movie, and I'll go in depth in it. But I want to first talk about how the story of the movie went. It starts off with, Spider-Gwen and in her universe instead of Miles's. So we're going through her universe. We're getting her backstory, what happened. She got bitten by a spider, became Spider-Woman, and because of this, Peter Parker didn't become Spider-Man. He was just a regular nerd still. He was getting bullied by the students there. He was sick and tired of it. He went into his backpack, pulled out an AR-15, and went full school shooter mode. Now I'm just messing around. He pulled out some elixir. He drank it. I thought he was going to turn into the Green Goblin, but he turned into the Lizard. So he turned into the Lizard because of it, and he started attacking the school on prom. And she came back in as, Spider-Gwen to stop him, but she basically collapsed the roof on top of him, which he turned back to normal, and he died in her arms, which was pretty dark, and I didn't expect it to go that way. He died. Her dad comes in, sees what happens. Her dad was a cop, and he thinks now that she killed Peter Parker, who was, his daughter's best friend and a kid that he really cared about. He thought of him like as his own child. So he felt really bad, and he was holding her badly for it. So she tried to so for like months she, didn't tell him that who she was. I mean, not for months she didn't tell him, but what happened was for months he was trying to catch Spider-Woman, and he doesn't know that that's his daughter, and she was like, on one hand she was already destroyed by the fact that her friend is dead and she basically killed him, but also on the other hand she has to deal with her dad trying to take down Spider-Woman, which she was her, so she's like, it wasn't my fault. I was just trying to stop him, and it was an accident. She didn't mean to kill him, obviously, but it was still, tragic. And then we see her going through a museum or something, or no, there was the Vulture attacking a museum, an art museum. She comes in there, and then the Vulture looks different, and I'm like, what the hell, his style looks weird. And we find out that he's from a universe where he's from like Da Vinci's drawings, with the multi-armed model of the human body and the multi-leg body. So Da Vinci had his own universe where he designed his arts, and he had this design of the paper pages cut out from there, so I thought that was pretty cool. So he was fighting them, and then some Spider-Woman came out who was pregnant. She basically had no, she didn't come out. First came out Miguel. He found out that what was happening. So Spider-Man 2099 saw that there was a disturbance. He came out there to stop the disturbance. Gwen is like, who are you? What are you doing here? He's fighting the Vulture. The Vulture is fighting back. He has like a laser cannon coming out of his mouth. And then he calls in for backup. It's this Spider-Woman who's pregnant. She comes out with her motorcycle, starts fighting him. So all three of them are fighting this creature, trying to take him down. Then we see his, vampire fangs, which he's about to drink the guy's blood. But then the cops came in the way, and he's like, man, come on. And so they get a fight there. and they try to take down the Vulture. They beat him up and take him down. He explains what's happening, the dimensional stuff. She's like, yeah, I know, I've dealt with this already. But he's like, yeah, well, you guys made a big problem last time, and it's all your fault that this is happening, these other dimensions. So this is where the whole Spider-Verse is coming into play, and it gets very interesting and intense because of this. As this is happening, her suit is down, she's out of webs, and her dad is there. He's trying to shoot at her, and he stops her, and she's like, what the hell do I do? So she does the only thing that she can do, and she reveals herself to her father. And you would assume that the dad would be like, what the hell, I can't do this to my own daughter. He was like that a little bit, but he automatically was pointing the gun at her, and she's like, what are you doing, Dad? Put it down. And he's even starts shooting off. He's like, I'm a cop and this is my job, and you did this, you're breaking the law, you lied to me and stuff like that. So he's basically has this, like, it turns really bad. He's like, you killed Peter and this, and then you're the person I was going after. And then she's like, no, listen to me. And she's like, it's not my fault. And then he just won't listen to it. So it was like, shit, I felt bad for her, to be honest. That opening sequence was kind of sad. For me, it kind of hit me a little deeply because I was like, damn, she killed her own best friend. And I kind of felt bad for Peter because he was bullied and he just wanted to feel strong because he saw this hero and he was getting picked on. And he went in a route that was dangerous, but he didn't deserve to die. And then you can understand her feeling and then her father's feeling, but I think her father kind of went overboard with that. It's like, it's your daughter, come on. And then she's also feeling sad because she misses Miles. And Miles is also feeling sad he misses her. So then she goes with them and we don't see her again. Then we transition to Miles's perspective, which I really liked. Then we go to his and we have a little bit of a recap. He's like, yeah, years passed, I've gotten taller, I'm 15, I'm doing this. His parents are doing this college application stuff, even though he's literally just only 15. Like, he's still not even close to being a senior yet, but whatever, he's, preparing for that big journey ahead. So we're seeing his story, and then he's talking about how I forgot what it was, but it was like some product that he was, advertising for. And he's like, I changed a lot. I fought new villains. There's a product I was advertising for. I had to make an apology for that. He's like, I'm sorry. I made a very big mistake and a countless lapse in my judgment. He's like, then I grew a mustache. Everybody hated it. Then I made an apology video. Sorry for making many mistakes again. I just laughed at those parts because, first of all, the product thing, there was 2 times where this has happened. There's one that happened more recently where there's celebrities that supported different products that the general audience, mainly Twitter, losers, were complaining about and demanded an apology. There's one actress, I forgot what her name was. She was doing for a milk thing, for like talking about it. As a mother, she gives her kids milk from this, and she was getting shit for it, so she had to make an apology. And then Aubrey Plaza also was making a joke one about getting milk from wood, like, making a vegan joke about where they get the milk from. And those vegan pussies on Twitter, they got a butthurt, they got to stick up their ass, they got an actual tree up their butthole, and they started yelling at her to apologize, which she hasn't. So they're playing off of the butthurt woke people that they cry about everything, you have to make an apology. So he made an apology for little things, especially like a mustache. So I thought that was pretty funny. Then we're going through his journey. We're also seeing he's also missing Gwen. He's missing Peter. And you can't blame him because, that's kind of like his girlfriend. He's a girl he has a crush on. And then Peter is his mentor. These are people his friends. And he cares about them. Because besides that, he just has that one dude that lives in the dorm with him who is kind of like lazy and just plays games all the time. But yeah, he misses them, and then we see that he has like a lot of problems of his own. He has to go to, his parents are trying to get him into the college, and he's not even there. And as he's trying to show up to there's the Spot, who's pretty much technically the main villain of this story, and he's trying to steal an ATM machine. He asks the guy, he's like, is it chained up? He's like, no. He's like, oh, thanks. He's like, what? And then he tries to steal it. He doesn't know how to get it. He gets outside, he trips a guy. It's really funny and comedic, but I like it. And the Spot, if you guys watched the 1990s Spider-Man, animated show, this movie, I just want to say before I get into it further, that this is mainly for the Spider-Man fans. So if you're not a big fan of Spider-Man, I am actually surprisingly a big fan of Spider-Man. I've played a lot of the games. I've watched all the animated shows. I watched, the live action films, except for the Andrew Garfield ones. I didn't care to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. I watched Tom Holland's, like, all of his movies and stuff. So I'm really big fan of Spider-Man. I've read quite a bit of comic books. I'm a big fan. So this movie is mainly for big Spider-Man fans, and I'm not the most ridiculously big Spider-Man fan, but I love it. I played this game called Spider-Man Unlimited Mobile. It was an amazing game. They discontinued it, which pissed me off, but I love that game. Maybe I might make a video on that in the future on why they should fucking bring it back. Hopefully, if I can do something to actually bring it back, I highly doubt I can, but if I can, I'll try to do it. But yeah, it's definitely for more like Spider-Man fans, and I absolutely loved it, and I'll get in more into later on why this is the case. But in the 90s one, the Spot was first introduced. The spots came from like this black hole machine. This one is different, it's the interdimensional machine, but this one was from a black hole, and it allows him to use these spots. And some people say he looks dumb, but I think his power is pretty cool, where he can use these as like basically wormholes to go through different parts of the world. But in this movie, he can use it to go through different dimensions, and that's what sets off this whole event. So he's doing this, he's trying to steal it, the ATM machine, and Miles is trying to take him down, he's going after him. There's a whole back and forth sequence, and then he has to get to the place there. He has to show up. He shows up late, which sucks. And then he's talking to them, and then they're trying to do this diversity hire thing where they're like, oh, you're a diversity student, you can get this and that. And he's like, what? And then the dad was like, talking. This movie surprisingly had some political undertones. I did not expect them. They were talking about like black people and stuff like that. Like dad's like, I had to become a cop to go against the stigma. We're lucky you're able to come here and stuff. And then he's talking about wanting to go to Princeton, which is all the way in New Jersey. And his mom's like, no, why don't you go one around Brooklyn and stuff? He's like, Mom, I want to meet new people. I want to make better connections. And this is a story that a lot of people can connect to. A lot, especially younger people. You want to go outside of home, especially when it comes to work or school, like college, and a lot of the parents want you to live close by home. Sometimes you even might want to live close by home, but you have to venture off in your own. You want to try new things and deal with new people, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially for him. He's just going for his education, but she didn't want that, and they're talking about family. They're talking a lot about Spanish, like he can't speak it. He got like a bad grade because he was missing days, but also there's kind of a main focal point on his Spanish, which does play a little bit of a part later on, which I thought was cool. Also, his dad mentioned some stuff about racial undertones, which I also thought was pretty interesting. But after that, he sees a spot and he's like, oh, fuck. He has to leave. His dad also obviously has to leave since he's a police officer. And then the lady at the place, what was it? At the place where they're trying to do the admission, she's like, your son's lying to you, right? So there's a little bit of a hint of his mom is kind of understanding that he's kind of lying, so there's going to be like a little bit of a mystery. He's going after the Spot. The Spot is fighting back and forth with him. His dad is chasing after them both, and the Spot reveals that he was created because of him. He was the guy that had the weapon and that he threw a bagel at his head. And basically what happened was when he was fighting against Kingpin and he destroyed the machine, the guy was in there and he had this other machine with him, and it infused it into his body, making him the Spot and have his powers. So he's like, you created me, and technically we created you, because when the portal opened up, it got this spider from another dimension, 42, and it turned him into Spider-Man. So without that, he wouldn't have become Spider-Man, but without, Miles doing that, he wouldn't have become the Spot. So he's basically trying to show him that he's a big level threat, and they're just like, no, you're not. You're like a B-plot character. You're like the weekly villain, and you're barely even that. So they're shitting on this dude, and this guy he is kind of goofy, especially his build. He tries to attack him. He runs in, and he ends up sending a portal where he puts his own foot, kicking his own ass, and falling into his own portal, and he gets stuck there. And he's like, what the hell is happening? So we have that, he's gone. Then Miles is having a little bit of a connection with his father, even though he's supposed to be Spider-Man. He's like, hey, you should get off your son's ass. You shouldn't be so hard on him. You should let him spread his wings. And he's talked to him, it's funny, and it's pretty heartfelt. And then you see the Spot in his dimension. He's poking through it, and he's like this, wait, I have power of like the multiverse, because now I can go through the multiverse. He pops his head into different realities. He messes with the Lego Spider-Man universe. I thought that was funny. Then he does something which I never expected them to do in this movie. I knew they were going to go to other universes, but I didn't expect them to do this. He pops his head into Eddie Brock's universe that you see, Sony with the Venom movies. He pops into it, and Mrs. Chang is working in the store, and his head's there. He's like, hey, isn't this weird? I'm from another dimension. She's like, yeah, whatever. She dealt with Venom, so nothing surprised her. But we literally have an animated character in a 3D world connecting. I thought that was cool, and they do a little bit of that too later on in the movie, which I really loved and I thought was funny. So he leaves and he sees that he can use his power. As this happens, Miles is trying to bring a cake to his his own celebration and stuff. He shows up late. You know, it looks bad. He gets in an argument with his parents. He gets grounded for a month, then 2 months. Walks away. Gwen shows up. He leaves with her, and then he gets grounded for another 3 months. I was like, shit. She just walks with him, and this part was so cool because they're just talking. They're not even doing anything crazy. They're talking. She's like, yeah, I missed you, and they're just having a little bit of a connection. She mentions that in every universe that Gwen and Spider-Man got together, it ended up badly, so he doesn't know if he should go for it or not. But they're walking. You see the city look beautiful. I felt like I was in that city. And then they go on to this one big building. They go underneath it, and they're just sitting, and they're upside down, both of them. And it looks so beautiful, though. The cinematography, the art style, the animation, the fluidity. This movie was just all around beautifully done and well, like, looking. It looked like a masterpiece in the way it was done. So they did that. That looked really cool. They talked. She came back to the party. She had to leave. She had to watch things. She explained a little bit more. She went. He followed her. He went into his visible mode. She was talking to the other Spider-Woman, and she's like, yeah, you can't contact him. You shouldn't even been here. We were coming for the spot because he lost the spot, so he lost his power. So he had to redo it again, get his power, so he can go through the multiverse. She went in there. Miles was staying back, and he was thinking, should I leave? And for a second, it looked like he was going to just stay because she said she can't see him again. So he was kind of contemplating, should I jump in there and go after her, or should I just stay here and never ever see her again, possibly? So I was like, I was in the movie theater, I was like, go, 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 go. Luckily he did jump in, and we end up into the Indian Spider-Man's universe, which he was played by, I have it right here, Kaden Sunny. I know, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, but I do know he was in Deadpool. He was Deadpool's taxi cab driver, which is kind of racist since he's Indian. But he was in there, and he was the Indian Spider-Man. And I thought he was actually pretty funny. His design was pretty cool. I remember him from the Spider-Man Unlimited mobile game, if you guys ever played it. It's definitely phenomenal. He was in there, and he was giving his jokes, and he was funny. That Miles comes in, and she's like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, what? I just came here for you. And then, you know, they had a fight against the Spot and stuff, so it was them three in there. And this guy, he was funny. He was talking about how he's like, how he got powers. He's like, oh, I'm so good looking. This, he's getting all cocky and shit. And he's talking about his situation. Then he goes into the fact that, you know, this part might not mean much to you guys, but it does mean something to me. I thought it was funny. Since I'm Afghan, you know, there's certain stuff that we notice that a lot of people in America don't really know. Like, for example, he mentions that, you know, he has a whole argument and anger about, you know, calling chai tea, saying like chai tea, because he's like, chai means tea. It does. Chai means like, it means tea in, I think, Urdu. So when you're saying that, you're basically saying TT. So he was getting that, and he's like, chai tea just means tea, so you're saying TT. Just call it chai. And he was getting mad, and then he was going through there, and Spot, who was fighting him, was like, oh, I love chai tea, I love naan bread too. He's like, that's incorrect too. Naan means bread. You're just saying bread. So yeah, as an Afghan, I understand. Like, when I've made that statement before too. I'm like, why are you calling it chai tea? That literally just means tea. You're saying tea in a different language than in English. And saying naan in a different language and then bread, it's just saying, you know, bread. So he was calling that out. I thought it was funny. They went after him. He went into his lab where he could get more power from, you know, their dimensional colliding machine. He went there. He created a barrier. They were trying to break through it. Miles was showing his new ability where he can absorb energy and then redirect it out. But it was taking time. And then we had a new Spider-Man. It was the Rockstar Spider-Man. He comes in and blasts right in through it. They're fighting him, but the Spot is able to handle them. And then he leaves and gets more power. And then he just disappears. But as he's doing this, as he gets more power, he changes. He goes from mostly white to some black spots to mostly black, some white spots, showcasing he's mostly spatial dimensions now. And as he's doing this, there's some weird connection between him and Miles, and apparently he's showing the perceived events from the future in the multiverse, and you see Miles' dad being in danger and being like killed, and Miles is like, what the hell? And this starts the catalyst for the whole problem and event in you know, Miles' life and what he's trying to go through in this. So that guy leaves. He's leaving very fast, and they're like, what the hell? He's gone. And as this is happening, everything's crumbling. He saves this police chief guy. I forgot what his name was, but the Indian guy was protecting like this girl, and he was about to be crushed, but Miles came there to stop it and save him, and they all cheered for him. But there was this black thing on the bottom that was destroying the place, and like, what's happening? And then Miguel contacted, like, man, this universe is screwed, but we're going to try to fix it. He brought this machine, brought out the Spider-Mans to fix this universe. We didn't know what he meant by that and what was happening until we get explained later on in the movie. Then we have Miles and all of them go to the dimension. And this is where shit is crazy. We see like hundreds to thousands of Spider-Man, and I was just geeking out because I knew them for many different things, and then they had so many Easter eggs. The amount of Easter eggs they had in this movie blew my mind. I was fucking fried. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I know this and I know that. In Spider-Man Unlimited game, mobile game, they literally have like, what's the thing called? They have like hundreds to thousands of designs of Spider-Man. They literally have every design of Spider-Man throughout every comic book and stuff like that. So they had that. And in this world, I saw every different one of them. So they had many different ones. They even had a T-Rex Spider-Man. So it was pretty cool seeing the different Spider-Man. I'm not going to get too in-depth with all the Spider-Man and their scenario and situation. But I just think it was really cool to see all these Spider-Man and, the story based off of that. But we saw this, and a couple of the Easter eggs they had there when they were going through it. They showed, they're like, oh yeah, this is the video game Spider-Man. They were showing the early stage of Spider-Man, the PlayStation 2 Spider-Man. They said this is the video game Spider-Man, and then it was the video game Spider-Man from the more recent Spider-Man games, which is literally just called Spider-Man. That came out, I think, 2018. It was around the same time the new God of War game came out. So that Spider-Man was literally there. He's like, they're like, yeah, these are the game Spider-Man. And he's like, are you talking about me? I was like, what the fuck is the video game version of him? But then I was like, at this point, I was like, well, they already did a crossover between live action and animated, so I'm not too surprised that they did game. So they did from games, comic books, TV shows, movies, live action movies. It was everything. I did not expect them to go that far, but they did, and holy shit, I loved it. Obviously, they dropped the reference to Earth 9999, which is basically the MCU. He mentions, like, it's all things. He's like, I had to deal with already that stupid nerd and Doctor Strange's mistake, which we knew he was talking about the MCU's universe. So I thought that's funny. And she was like, who the fuck is, like, who's Doctor Strange? He's like, man, you just won't understand. But we see through there. We see that, then we go to Donald Glover. He's sitting there, he's the Prowler, and he's like, what are you looking at? He's like, nothing. So I thought that was also pretty funny. They had a real Rhino there. He's like, boring version of Rhino. They had different versions of them. I knew almost every version of these characters there. It was just amazing. But Donald Glover's there, he's in the MCU and Tom Holland's universe. He's supposed to be the Prowler of that universe. So yeah, he sees him. That's like a little interesting interaction. Then he goes to the back to meet Miguel. He's coming down slowly. It's kind of funny. Miguel is not really excited about him being there. They're really hush-hush about why he should. They didn't want him there, but he came there anyway, so they had to deal with him now. But they were hush-hush about it, and we were trying to find out why. And they get revealed as he talks to him. He explains to him that, Spider-Man have to go to a lot of tragedies. And one event that happens a lot is they lose their people close to them, like their uncle. So they lose their Uncle Ben's, or, like him, he lost his Uncle Aaron, I think was his name. So the Prowler. They lose them, and this is a part of their story and their canon, which I also like that they use that terminology. But they were talking about that, but they said not only do the Uncle Ben's and the uncles die, but also the police chiefs die, which I think that was a weird, thing, because it makes sense, the Uncle Ben's, but the police chiefs, but they said they died. They showed another Spider-Man watching his one die. He's like, no man, please don't die. And then they showed like Andrew Garfield holding the police chief. I think it was Gwen's dad. In that movie, he died, and he was holding him, and he was crying, so they showed the live-action one. And at one point, they literally showed a screen where they showed Spectacular Spider-Man, the animated one, Spectacular Spider-Man. They showed Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man. They showed Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and on the corner of one of them, they showed the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That animated show with Spider-Man there, they showed the Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor there, which I love that show. That show was amazing. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Hero definitely deserved another season. They even had a Super Saiyan character like in it. But yeah, they had all these other references. It was so cool. They even showed at one point, the original 1960s Spider-Man cartoon character. He's like doing moves like, oh, I hurt myself, I'm stuck. The only one I didn't see was in the 1990s Spider-Man, which had the iconic theme song, Spider-Man, Like, you know, I don't know how to recreate it, but it had like the digital synthetic sounding music, but it was really great. I'm assuming he's going to be probably in the next movie, but they have that, and he reveals to him that, hey, all these police chiefs have to die, and your dad just became a police chief. Also, one thing interesting, when his uncle Aaron died, they had like a mural of him that said "Rest in Power." That's kind of a thing that's been used more by the, you know, black community after the show The Wire. It's just a saying that they say to like another black person or celebrity that dies. They say "Rest in Power," which I like that saying. But they're talking about like you know, each police chief has to die, and his dad just became like a captain, and he's gonna end up dying. So he's like, wait, what the hell? He's like, yeah. So he basically reveals what happened, why he didn't want him there. He's like, your dad is gonna have to die since he's the chief. He has to die as a part of the canon, and you can't go against the canon. And he's like, why not? Why can't we do this? What the hell, man? We're Spider-Man. We're supposed to protect. I'm not gonna let my dad just die. And you can understand his point, but then Miguel explains his point. It makes sense. He explains the fact that, look, I get it, but at one point, you know, there was a universe where the other Miguel there got shot and killed. He had a family. He got killed. And, you know, I thought it would be harmless if I just slipped in there and took over for myself, because I wanted a family. I was lonely. I would have had a daughter and a wife, and he was gone, so I might as well, you know, just be there for them. So he came in there, and he thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't see it as a problem. But the problem with it was he realized that since he went against the continuity, the timeline had to fix it. So by something standing out, it basically erased itself. So as he did this thing, it was just like, you know, he just wanted a family. He didn't want to do anything crazy. He ended up basically getting that entire universe wiped out and erased, and the kid getting erased and him getting ejected out of it. So he survived, but he lost that universe. The universe would have survived if he didn't do that. So after that, he's like, this, you can't do this in these universes. If you try to change the continuity and what's supposed to happen, you're going to end up destroying the universes. So Miles is in a situation where he can't just let his dad die, but Miguel's shown that if you don't, then your entire universe is going to get wiped out. That's what was happening in the Indian Spider-Man's universe. It was going to get all wiped out, and that's why there was the black spot. I thought it was the Spot who did, but it was just because you know, the universe itself was destroying itself because of the canon vent being broken. So like there, you can understand both sides. You can understand Miles' you know, predicament. Like if you knew one of your loved ones could die and you could save them, but this was a scenario, wouldn't you want to? But then you can also understand Miguel's side, because like he did it. He feels like, you know, bad about it. Like he had a whole universe where they just got wiped out when he could have just not done anything and left it alone. But he was lonely, so you can't blame him there either. So you understand it. And now the other Spider-Man are there, they're trying to stop him. They first try to talk to him, but he's just like, no, man, I can't let this happen. He tries to trap him, but he breaks out of it. And now, this is where the biggest action scene happens throughout the movie. You know, in other movies, like action movies, you see the car chase scene. This was literally just a whole-ass chase scene of him moving around, and it was just cool. It was thousands of Spider-Man chasing one Miles Morales, trying to take him down. You saw all these other cool different Spider-Man. You saw the original Spider-Man game character. You saw different comic book versions of him. You saw them all chasing him. You know, even Gwen was after him. Even, you know, Peter Parker, who trained him, was after him. And he had a daughter, which she was pretty cute. So they were all chasing after this guy. And they were like, they were not going to let him go. He was busting out. The place looked cool. He's trying to get out of there. He went on this like sky train thingy. They were all there, and Miguel like tackled him. He holds him down. He's like, you're not supposed to be Spider-Man. You were never meant to be Spider-Man. We're like, what? He explains that apparently that Spider-Man in that universe was supposed to live. He was never supposed to die in the Ultimate Universe. What happened was, since the spider went into that universe, it turned him to Spider-Man, and he came there. He got infected. And he wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be him, and he was supposed to survive Kingpin. But since he came there and he had to save him, he ended up dying. And then he ended up becoming Spider-Man. So he was already an anomaly. And they already caught anomalies before, and they converted them, sent them back to their universes. So that's what they're doing with all the other trapped villains that broke away. So he was like, you were not supposed to be, you created this shit already, so we need you. You're not even supposed to be a part of this. You were not supposed to be a part of it in any universe. You're supposed to get the hell out of here. And that definitely hurt him, because he's like, damn, like, you guys really feel that about me? And he found out that everything that he stated, and you know, Gwen and the Spider-Man knew, so he's now really pissed. He's like, you guys are my fucking friends. What the fuck is wrong with you? You guys held that information from me. You guys are lying to me. You know, you're manipulating me. So he feels hurt, and you can understand it. Then he's breaking out, and he just goes and he's like, yes, you know what? he tells him, he's like, hey, I tricked you guys. I got you guys all to come out of the place so it can be empty so I can go back in there. He's like, wait, what? He blasts him. He runs out. He goes back to the place. He teleports himself back to the place. And then now Miguel's there. He's trying to get back. And he's sneaking in invisibility. There's the other spider girl who is basically, uses an avatar. He breaks into the thing to open it. Miguel comes in there. They all come in there to try to take him down and stop him. And the girl kind of lets him go. She could have stopped him, but she kind of lets him go. And he's going to the machine to get transported back home so he can get away and get safe. Miguel is getting pissed off. At this point, he's like at his breaking point. He's losing his shit, and he's mad at Gwen. He's like, you broke the agreement. You basically you helped him out because at one part, both her and Peter, especially Peter, they were like helping him out. Peter had caught him, but he didn't try to take him in because he was trying to talk to him like, come on, man, I understand, but this is something we have to go through. We all have to go through tragedy. And he was like, man, screw you. So he left. And, he was mad. So he's like, Gwen, you know what? You're not a part of this anymore. You're kicked out. You're out of here. So the Rockstar guy's like, screw this, man. I'm leaving. He quit himself. And then you had Peter, who he was in trouble with. Miguel, he's like, I don't want to even talk to you. I've had enough of you. So then he just goes back to his universe with this kid to see Mary Jane there. I thought that was pretty funny. But then he leaves and he's going after him. Miles ends up in his universe. He's going back to home. He gets home. He starts talking to his mom. And he's like, oh, it's hard to say it, but he admits he's Spider-Man. And then his mom first says something that's really weird. She's like, what did you do with your hair? You had dreads. You cut it off. You have this hairstyle? And we're like, what? When did he have dreads? And he's just like, what? But he ignored it, and it's important. But he's talking to her, and he says he's Spider-Man. She's like, who the hell's Spider-Man? He's like, is it a superhero you like and stuff like that? And then we find out that this is not his universe; it's another universe. And I should have known because it said Earth 42, which is not his Earth, and the spider that came from that universe had the 42 on it. That's why it was like a different spider from a different dimension that he shouldn't have gotten in the first place. So yeah, that the fact that happened, that showcased that it was not. So in that Spider-Man that universe, there was no Spider-Man. There was only criminals. So that city is destroyed. It's ruined and it's taken down. So his Uncle Aaron's alive, and he's like, what? He's like, come up with me upstairs. He's like, what's happening? He comes up, he starts talking to him, and then you see somebody coming from the back. It's the Prowler. He hits him and knocks him out. At this point, I knew who it was. They chained him up. His Uncle Aaron's talking to him. He swings around, and we see the Prowler. At this point, I'm like, yeah, this is Miles. He turned into the Prowler in this universe, and he does. He comes out. He's like, I'm Miles Morales. So it's important to say that because Miles, even though he's half Hispanic and half black, he leans more to his black side. So he considers himself more black. He has a black hairstyle, the way he talks. His lifestyle is more black with a little bit of hint of Puerto Rican or Hispanic. Whereas Miles Morales, as I'll call him from this universe, he leans more to his Hispanic heritage and roots. His skin tone is a little bit lighter. Also, his hairstyle is like a Puerto Rican person's. Like he has a Puerto Rican dude's like ponytail, like a type of braided hair. Whereas Miles has more of a hair of it's like a small fro with a grade faded lineup, like a younger black kid. Whereas his is like a younger Hispanic kid. So this Spider-Man, this Miles is more Hispanic than he is black, whereas that one's more black than he is Hispanic. So it's like a flip of his, his two heritages that he has. But as he's doing this, he's threatening him. He chains him up. He's like has him there. He's about to electrocute him. You have Gwen going to her dad, and then she's talking to him, and they have like a nice moment where he says, I quit being a chief, and she hugs him. And this was important because he became a police chief himself, and she was going to have to let her dad die. But after finding out he quit, she was happy because she was like, well, that means he's not a police chief. That means he's not going to die. So that basically saved his life. So she hugged him, and he's like, I understand. He's like, oh yeah, somebody left you a present. It was the punk Spider-Man. He gave her the watch thing that she can go through dimensions, and she assembled her own team lineup. She ended up in the correct universe. I don't know why Miles ended up in the wrong universe, but he ended up in Universe 42 where he got captured, and she ended up in his universe and started talking to his parents a little, and the other Spider-Men are there too. And then she forms her own team, which is, Peter Parker's mentor. It's the other Spider-Man from the first movie. It's the punk Spider-Man and the girl that was a hologram, because they all helped him out. So now they created their own team. She's like, I'm not going to work with Miguel. I'm creating my own team. So she's going to help out Miles. And then Miguel's team of like countless Spider-Man are going to work against him to save the continuity. Because they say if you mess around with the continuity too much, then the entire the multiverse can get destroyed. So messing with the, canon events can wipe out the entire multiverse as a whole instead of just, separate universes if you do it a lot. So he has to stop him. And Miles is trapped. Miles puts his finger on the chain and he's about to electrocute and break out. But the music starts ramping up and I was like, wait, is it going to do it to be continued? To be continued? I was like, no way, there's no way they can do it. No way, no way, no way. And he did. It literally was to be continued. This was way different. I know some people might not like that ending. I thought this ending was completely different than I expected. I will get into the feeling as a whole from this film, but I do want to talk about that ending. I've never seen this before. Yes, there has been movies that have part 2. You've seen those with Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows part 1 and 2. You had this with Avengers from Infinity War to Endgame, but those were the difference with that was the Deathly Hallows basically. It was a 2-parter, but you could feel the ending of that when Dobby gets stabbed in the end of the first one. You can feel that that's like a perfect send-off. Is like an end to that, and then there's more story for the next movie. And then Infinity Wars, it ended off kind of on a cliffhanger, but also it was more like it wrapped up itself very well. Whereas this one, it felt like it was not wrapped up. It was just like a to be continued. Like most, the way movies and TV shows do it. These TV shows do it all the time. But the way TV shows do it is they just leave a cliffhanger and then they stop and like, whoa, what's gonna happen next season? But in movies, it's like they wrap it up, but just not fully. There's still some more to uncover, and they're like, that's saved up for the next film. But this one, they're like, nope, the events are still happening, but we're going to put a pause on it, and we're going to say to be continued, and we're going to stop it. So I thought that was cool. That was way different. I did not expect that. It kind of bummed me out because I wanted to see the full conclusion, but it also made me excited to see part 2. Now I'm kind of yammering for it. And this was completely different. I've never had it to be continued on this level or, felt it like this, but I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty unique. It was pretty, fun, but I can see why some people might not like that. I can understand that. But for me personally, I thought it was like, a double-sided. It was cool. It was both cool, and then also both, it was both cool, but also both like, oh, it sucks. But yeah, personally, what I felt about the movie as a whole, I love the movie. Here's the things I love the most about it. I love the intensity, the emotion. There's parts in the movie that made me very emotional. I was like, damn, this is very sad. It's like watching an anime. It was very sad. That was really good. The art style was phenomenal in the last movie, but it was even better in this movie because in this movie they used 20 billion different art styles. They used live action, they used Legos, they used video games, they used comic books, they used different styles of drawing him, different builds, different like 3D models, 2D models, this, that. I'm like, what the fuck? This movie is amazingly done. So the art styles, phenomenal. The cinematography, I don't usually care too much about cinematography from a film unless it was really cool, but this movie did it phenomenally. I love the changes. You can feel the difference in each universe and how they were portrayed, and these different characters and how they were shown. It was just cool and beautiful. I love that. Then we have the animation, which a lot of people get mixed up. Art is how they're drawn, animation is how they move. The animation was fluid, it was beautiful, it was fast-paced, it was action-paced. Even without the 4D feeling, the feeling of the movements was just so beautiful. It drew you in. Like the style, the art with the animation with the camera directing work, perfect. And then all these characters, all these Easter eggs, everything was great about that. The story was really great. It was also really funny too. It made me not even chuckle. It made me die laughing a couple parts. I was laughing out loud to the point where it was embarrassing. Like I was looking around, I was like, oh shit, I'm laughing a little, awkwardly. But it was just so funny. I couldn't help it, It was a good film all around, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't say this lightly. I think this was better than the first film, and I think this is my favorite Spider-Man film of all time. And that's saying a lot, because I've watched the Spider-Man 1 and 2 infinite amount of times. I love the Sam Raimi universe of Spider-Man. I love 1 and 2, but this one blows them all out of the water. This blows every Spider-Man movie out the water. Hopefully if the next one is better than this, I don't know what to say. I'm going to be lost. People keep saying, making videos like, it's really good, but it's not perfect. Like, no shit. No fucking movie or show or franchise or anything is fucking perfect in this world. People have said this or that shit's masterpiece. I've heard them say some lame-ass shitty movies are masterpieces. So if this is not a masterpiece, those are nowhere near the realm. This movie's really great. I don't know what I'll say is my favorite superhero film of all time. I'll have to watch it 2 or 3 more times. but it is my favorite Spider-Man film of all time, and it's just phenomenal. I like it more than the first. I like it more than those. It was just great. The only thing I would say that was less, I would say, is the music. I like the music in the original first. They had Post Malone, they had Sway Lee, they had countless other artists. They did have some good ones in this one too, especially the end credit song. I think that was fire. I'm gonna try to look it up. But I think the original had better. They had like, you know, Sunflower and stuff. That was like very big main staple of that movie. That was good. This one didn't have anything like that, but it was still pretty good, the soundtrack. It just wasn't, you know, blowing me out the water. So the dialogue was good. The story building was good. The cameos were good. The plot was very good and interesting. The humor was really good. The animation was really good. The art style was really good. And the cinematography was really good. It makes sense why it took like around 5 years for this film to be made, because they had so many character models and so many things to be made. And like I said, this is specifically for Spider-Man fans. This is for Spider-Man fans. If you're a big Spider-Man fan, you're gonna love this. You're gonna know this. I'm a decently big Spider-Man fan, so I love this. So yeah, this was great. I thought it was phenomenal. This, you can tell they're real fans of it. They're not just doing it just for a paycheck. They really love the franchise. They love the IP that they're, you know, working on. And that makes me really appreciate the writers and the directors of this film. It was just all around great. So yeah, just a great movie all around. There's nothing, I know there's some stuff that weren't that great, but like I said, I can let go of it as long as the movie's good as a whole. It was definitely worth it. I can't wait to see what the spot's going to do next. You know, I'm just waiting to see, you know, how everything unravels. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. If any of you guys watched the movie, I want to know what you guys thought of the movie. Did you love it? And if you haven't, do you want to go see it after what I've explained? Because it's just, you know, phenomenal. It's worth it. It was, and the funny thing is, I only paid like $8 for the tickets, so it was already worth it for how good it was, but especially for how cheap it was. It was phenomenal. Definitely a grade A movie. I would consider it a masterpiece to me. And the great thing about this is people have been having this whole superhero fatigue. Personally, I understand it. I've been having a bit of it too. I love superheroes. I love superpowered beings, but I felt like the superhero genre has kind of gotten cut and dry, and this definitely revitalized it. So if there's more superhero movies like this, I'll definitely love it. It blew my mind. It was intense all around. It was just great. The movements, like I said, when they're moving through the place and fighting, I was just blown away. It drawn me in so much. I really loved it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and stay tuned for next time.